Hello everyone, welcome to another Josekis lesson. In the previous video, 506.6, we talked about what happens after black jumps out in response to white's low one-space pincer, and number 6 here. And we looked at a few scenarios. All of them will involve some sort of fights. And after the video, I thought it might be useful to spend a little more time talking about some of these other pincers and what happens after black jumps out. This is the most common one, right? That's why it deserves a full video for itself. These other pincers are more rare. So let's start this video by talking about the high one-space pincer. This is extremely rare. You almost never see this move, so it kind of only exists in theory now. And as we talked at the very beginning of this mini-series, 506.1, this is rare, and the best way to deal with this is not to jump out. It's actually just to play at the 3-3 point. And if white blocks this way, we just go for the normal Joseki. Now this is actually very hard for white to take care of this cutting point. If white plays here, black jumps out, and number 6 is just at the wrong spot. Doesn't seem right. Number 14 here also doesn't seem right? Because black has all kinds of moves in the future that can annoy white. So number 6 is just at the wrong spot, and all black needs to do is to jump into the 3-3 point at number 7. If white blocks from this way, it's very similar. Number 6 is just at the wrong spot, right? So this is worth mentioning because if your opponent plays the high one-space pincer at number 6, then you should probably just jump into the 3-3 point. It's the best way to deal with it. And if you're playing this, well, you should not be playing this. You should really play some of the other pincers after your opponent plays a number 5. But what about black wants to jump out and fight? This is also fine. So usually after black jumps, white also jumps here, or AI usually prefers the 2-space jump at number 8 right here. So traditionally, it's a 1-space jump, white protects the corner at number 10, and now black will probably play this, right? Kind of taking away the root of number 6, and number 6 is really kind of in trouble now. This move doesn't exist, right? You might be imagining something like this. This would be great. White cutting off black, number 7, and forming a wall here. Black stays on the second line. And this will be disastrous for black. So how does black prevent this from happening? All black needs to do is to play this bumping move and number 13, which takes care of the weakness between 5 and 7. And whites can only connect here. Right? White cannot come down. This way, 12 and 14 will be cut off and killed. Or white will probably just take Sente, right? Because number 12 is already the wrong move after 13, and connecting here will only make these 3 white stones the target of black's attack. So number 11 is a good move, right? It's a good shape, and number 6 again is kind of out of place. So that's why you almost never see number 6, the high one-space pincer, against black's approach. Next, let's talk about the low 2-space pincer. This is an interesting one because this is kind of in the middle. It's prepared for black's 3-3 invasion. So this is still playable. White can still take Sente for now. It's not as good as the low 1-space pincer, right? It's a more solid shape after number 14, but when it's here, number 6, it's less solid, but it's still playable. Or number 14 can be here as well. And white will probably need another move on the outside to take care of the potential Aji weakness here. So number 7 still exists. And number 6, the advantage, it's actually quite popular if I remember correctly. Some years ago, maybe 5-10 years ago, it's popular because of the fight we were talking about in the previous video. If black jumps out and play this exchange in 9 and 10, now white is farther away, slightly farther away from black, but not too far that black can make an extension, right? Black should not play something like this. This will be too slow for black. And black cannot really put that much pressure on number 6. The best black can do is probably this counter pincer, but compare this to the previous video where number 6 and 11 are moved 1 space to the left. right? In the previous video, number 6 is under a lot more pressure. But here, white is under considerably less pressure because it stayed slightly farther away from number 5. So that's the advantage of number 6 right here. And also black does not have any connection underneath on the second line. Whereas in the previous video, we showed this. I just mentioned it. Not something you should go for immediately, right? You should still try to fight it out, but black has this move that can guarantee its connection and safety. It's a slow move. You shouldn't try it at the beginning of a game, but it's kind of a backdoor for black to get out of this fight. But when number 6 is 2 spaces apart from number 5, black does not get this attachment underneath. So black is still cut off. So that's the advantage of playing the 2-space pincer. But the weakness, as we just mentioned, is that when black comes into the 3-3 point, when you block this way, then there's more of a weakness for white. Right? So, as is often the case, you get something and you lose something by making different choices. Next, probably lastly, right, let's talk about the high 2-space pincer. You still see this, right, in games. And usually, right, as you get farther away from number 5, you're thinking about the side or what's going on the upper right. So we don't have the setup in this game. The board is empty. But sometimes when the reason why we're not talking about the 3-space pincer is because these moves are usually considering other parts of the board. It's really not putting any pressure on number 5. And if number 5 decides to jump out, I don't think any Joseki book would actually cover this, right? It's just part of a fight, part of a normal move, because number 6 is too far apart. White is not putting enough pressure on black, and black, if you play the counter pincer somehow, you're not putting that much pressure on white either. So this is not an intense fight. It can still be a fight this way, but it's not going to be as intense as when number 6 is a 1-space pincer or a 2-space pincer. So let's talk about this. And again, black, always remember this because I would recommend this for beginners and many Q players, right? Just take the corner territory and let your opponent worry about what to do on the outside. So white apparently has a lot of weaknesses if number 6 is right here, right? So maybe you can put another move here, very solid, but again, black has sente in this situation, which is very valuable when the board is empty. Or white can play something like this, but this doesn't really address some of the weaknesses here on the side. This clamping move, really annoying. And if number 14 is here, probably doesn't work either, right? You need another move. Otherwise, black can move out to number 5 and start a fight. So this is what white doesn't want. So again, if you don't want to jump out and fight, number 7 can always be at the 3-3 point. But let's talk about what happens when number 7 jumps out. Now, usually, white jumps out again here or here. For the sake of simplicity, let's just have white play the 1-space jump to protect the corner, and black plays this exchange again, right? Gaining a little more eye space and reduces white's corner. And white needs to protect the corner in this situation. Otherwise, might be a little too comfortable for black because black takes white's corner and black also jumps out. And now white will have to take care of these 2 stones on the corner, right? So it's better for white to just protect the corner, be the base here, and allow black to play on the upper side. So now, again, black can play some kind of a counter pincer on the upper side. In this situation, this probably makes sense because the upper right is black's territory and black can keep building the top right corner. And if you're white, you can, of course, take sente, but if you want to continue the fight, you can probably just jump out. Again, black has some kind of a move, kind of a semi-connection on the second line. If white wants to cut it, it can, something like this, but black will gain a living shape. Right? Black will gain some kind of a living shape, or it will cut white off. So white probably cannot try to cut black off after number 13 right away, but again, number 13 is on the second line. It's a slow move at the beginning of a game. So if you're black, probably just keep jumping something like this, and this will develop into a fight. Aside from the counter pincer, number 11 right here, this is a classic Joseki that you definitely see in older Joseki books. Now it's slightly outdated because white can play right here, number 12, as a follow-up. Black must crawl on the second line, and now white can play at number 14. So it's a pretty harsh move. What happens now is that black cannot afford to get cut off, so black must play here or here. Number 15 is a little too slow, right? Now 4 of black stones are already on the second line. The ice space doesn't seem that great. Right? In the future, white can always push here, and this is all going to be false eyes on both sides. So maybe only one real eye here. Right? So the ice space is not good. But here, white probably doesn't want to play here right away, right? Because you don't need to kill black, and black will not connect here, right? Connecting here will be too slow at the beginning of a game. So if you can jump out, always jump out. So after number 16, this is probably good for white. White has a pretty nice position on the outside, and black is simply too low and doesn't have enough ice space, right? The only ice space is here on the second line, and that'll be too slow, too small. So number 15 probably have to be here, but again, white has this move. It's a harsher move. Now we can still try the bump, but it's not going to work. This way, black is still cut off. So number 17 right here will not work. So the best black can do is to connect here. Right? You cannot play on the second line, otherwise number 7 is cut off. White has a wall on the outside. So black must connect here, and white will be able to cut off number 9. And the corner territory is sizable, right? Almost 20 points. And black still has a cutting point here. Of course, you can try to attack white on the outside, and this will develop into a fight. But overall, this is pretty good for white, because white already swallowed number 9 here. The corner is super solid. And black's shape, right? 3 stones connected here, another 3 connected here. Kind of a slow, inefficient shape, right? So it's definitely better for white after number 12, after all this sequence. Right, so that's why you don't see this in professional games anymore, but amateurs can still play this move. And of course, white can take sente. If you look at older Joseki books, this is where the Joseki ends, after number 11. But it's just that this follow-up is considered better for white. And that's probably why you should consider the counter pincer on the upper side if you have the upper right occupied as black in this situation. But let's say if white already has a pretty strong position here, something like this, you just need to switch the direction. If it's already like this, then of course you shouldn't counter pincer, because number 17 here will be under attack, right? White will just cut you off, and black will have 2 groups to worry about all of a sudden. Right? So in this situation, if it's already white's territory, you probably want to play on the second line, kind of destroying some of the territory on the left side for white. Probably a good idea, right? If white wants to trigger the fight here, now white's territory on the left side is mostly gone after number 25. So this is more playable for black. So as a brief recap, we talked about what happens after number 6, the high 1-space pincer here. Jumping out, we have this Joseki. And the low 2-space pincer, this is going to be a fight. Slightly better for white compared to the low 1-space pincer, because it's slightly less pressure on number 6. And we also talked about the high 2-space pincer. We talked about the counter pincer and this move. And we didn't really talk about the 3-space pincers because they don't really put enough pressure on the approaching stone, and they usually are played with the upper side or the upper right in mind. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Good luck, and thank you for watching.